The city was alive. Neon lights painted the night sky, but in a dark corner away from the bustling crowd sat a solitary figure. He was shrouded in a worn coat, his face etched with time. His eyes, though, held a depth that hinted at stories untold. He was a shadow, almost invisible amidst the city's vibrancy. Yet, something about him drew the eye. Perhaps it was the quiet dignity he held, despite his circumstances. Or maybe it was the air of faded elegance that clung to him. He hadn't always been a man of the streets. He once inhabited a world of luxury, a world he built with his own hands. He remembered the scent of rich mahogany in his office, the feel of silk ties, the taste of vintage wine. He had been a titan, a man who commanded respect wherever he went. His name had been synonymous with success, his life a testament to hard work and ambition. Looking back now, it felt like a distant dream, a story from another lifetime. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Life had a way of throwing curveballs when one least expected it. His fall from grace was a slow, agonizing descent. It began with a single misstep, a risky investment that went sour. Then, like dominoes falling, one misfortune followed another. His empire, built over decades, crumbled like a sandcastle in the tide. He lost his business, his wealth, his standing in society. Most importantly, he lost his family, the very anchor of his life. He remembered the laughter of his children, the warmth of his wife's embrace. Those memories, now bittersweet, were all that remained of his past life. He held on to them like a lifeline, drawing strength from the echoes of happiness. He often wondered if he could have changed things, made different choices. The past was a relentless tormentor, reminding him of what he had lost. He had known everyone there was to know in the city's upper echelons. He had rubbed shoulders with politicians and movie stars, his name a staple in the society pages. His life had been a whirlwind of charity galas, board meetings, and exotic vacations. He had been on top of the world, his every whim catered to. The memory of those days brought a bitter smile to his lips. Now he was just another nameless face in the crowd, invisible to the world he once knew. The city, once his playground, now felt like a concrete jungle, cold and unforgiving. He had gone from silk sheets to sleeping on park benches, from gourmet meals to scavenging for scraps. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had scaled the heights of success, only to find himself in the depths of despair. But through it all, a flicker of hope remained. He had learned to find solace in the small things, the warmth of the sun on his face, the kindness of strangers, the simple joy of a shared meal. He had discovered a resilience he never knew he possessed, a strength born out of adversity. He had fallen, yes, but he was determined to rise again, to reclaim his life piece by shattered piece. His descent into poverty had been a blur of bad decisions and worse luck. He remembered the day he received the eviction notice, the cold, impersonal words staring back at him. It was as if the ground had opened up and swallowed him whole. He had spent the next few days in a daze, drifting from one cheap motel to another, clinging to the last vestiges of his dignity. He tried to find work using his old connections, but doors slammed shut in his face. The same people who had once courted his favor now avoided his gaze. He was a reminder of their own mortality, a symbol of how quickly fortunes could turn. Humiliation became his constant companion, a bitter pill he swallowed daily. The city, once a symbol of opportunity, now represented his failure. He wandered its streets, a ghost haunting his own past. He saw his reflection in shop windows, a gaunt, hollow-eyed stranger staring back. The man he used to be felt like a distant memory, lost in the mists of time. One particularly cold night, he found himself huddled in a doorway, seeking shelter from the biting wind. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, a constant, painful reminder of his situation. He closed his eyes, trying to conjure up images of his past life, seeking solace in memories. He thought of his wife's smile, the sound of his children's laughter. Those memories, once a source of comfort, now felt like shards of glass piercing his heart. He had hit rock bottom. There was nowhere left to fall. Yet, even in the depths of despair, a flicker of hope ignited within him. He realized he couldn't change the past, but he could control his future. He had to start over, rebuild his life from the ground up. It was a daunting task, but he was determined to try. He started small, taking on odd jobs, working at a soup kitchen, anything to get back on his feet. He learned to appreciate the value of a hard day's work, the dignity of honest labor. He found solace in the company of others who had also fallen on hard times, sharing stories of resilience and hope. He learned to live in the present, to appreciate the simple things he had once taken for granted. A warm meal, a dry place to sleep, the kindness of strangers, these became his new luxuries. He realized that true wealth wasn't measured in money or possessions, but in the richness of human connection. He began to see the world through different eyes, with a newfound empathy for those less fortunate. He had walked in their shoes, knew their struggles firsthand. He resolved to use his experiences to help others, to offer a helping hand to those who had stumbled along life's path. One evening, as he was making his way through the park, he saw a young woman sitting alone on a bench, her shoulders shaking with sobs. He hesitated for a moment, remembering his own pain, his reluctance to accept help. But something in her posture, her air of utter despair, drew him to her. He sat down beside her and gently asked if she was all right. To his surprise, she poured out her heart to him, telling him about her lost job, her mounting debts, her fear of the future. He listened patiently, offering words of comfort and encouragement. He shared his own story, his fall from grace, his journey back from the brink. As he spoke, he saw a flicker of hope ignite in her eyes. His words, spoken from experience, carried a weight that no amount of platitudes could match. He told her about the resources available to her, the soup kitchens, the shelters, the organizations that could help her get back on her feet. He stressed the importance of seeking help, of not letting pride stand in the way of survival. He spent the rest of the evening talking to her, sharing his meager food, offering a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on. As he left her, he pressed a $5 bill into her hand, all the money he had left. It wasn't much, but it was a gesture of solidarity, a symbol of hope. He continued his solitary existence, finding solace in his newfound purpose. He became a fixture in the park, a familiar face to the homeless and the lost. He offered a kind word, a listening ear, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope still flickered. He had lost his fortune, his family, his place in the world, but he had found something far more valuable: compassion. He realized that life was a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow, success and failure. It was the ability to navigate those ups and downs, to find meaning and purpose, even in the face of adversity, that truly defined a life well lived. He had learned that happiness wasn't a destination, but a journey, a series of moments strung together by the fragile thread of hope. As he sat on his usual park bench, watching the sun rise over the city skyline, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. He was no longer the man he once was, but he was okay with that. He had embraced his past, learned from his mistakes, and emerged from the crucible of suffering a stronger, more compassionate human being. He had found his purpose, his reason for being, in the most unlikely of places.